Hi, welcome back to the Always Right podcast, where we start completely ADHD and all over the place.
Yeah, and I'm not going to say what I said I wasn't going to say, but I will say that it has been a couple weeks since we podcast together,
We
so
have
I'm happy
taken
to
a
be back.
break because you've been sick.
3 freaking times.
I told
I
you to
don't
quit
get it.
kissing strangers.
Yes. Oh, yeah, we had that discussion, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
All
Stop
right.
kissing all these strangers out in public.
Now I'm trying to turn my volume up, so I can't remember how to do it on this
Can you
iPad. I'll
hear
probably
me?
click as... There we go. Bam. Am I still centered right? I know we go over this every
You're
day.
good.
All right.
I mean,
So,
you're not centered, but like honestly, when are you?
I'm very uncentered.
Maybe it's better that you stay uncentered. It's more representative of like
All right.
actually what's happening. Oh man, I tell you. Okay, so it's been a couple weeks. I went to. Have we haven't talked since I've been to MegaCon.
Yeah.
Got to meet up with author Michael
You got to meet up with Mike.
C. Bland. Oh my god,
Yes.
jeez! Like I literally just went, and I was like I've
That's
got his
big.
books back here. I got signed copies.
Cool. Hey, but your brain hasn't done that for a few weeks, right? It's just today.
No, it's just because
Okay.
I'm with you right
Then my
now.
theory is true. I rub off on you
Mhm.
telekinetically or something like
Mhm.
that.
Yeah, that's a pretty strong signal coming from Ohio to Florida.
It is. And I'm surprised it came
You
through
need to
today
dial
because
that
it's
back a
snowing.
little bit. Oh, and your electronics were not working this morning, and now mine want to be silly. I'm like, what
Yeah,
the heck?
so I'll be up front. We're doing elevator pitches today, and I'm like, for some reason I couldn't get your notes. I don't know. Hey, I'm throwing this out to our readers. Why? What is going on with my
Who's
notes?
reading
They
your
won't sync.
podcast?
Yeah, because
Listeners?
do what?
You mean listeners?
Listeners, what did I say?
Readers? I'm like, who's reading the podcast?
Yeah, this is true. So you're like, you haven't read the notes. You're just telling me this now. And I'm like, I tried a 7 and an 8, and then I had to go shovel the driveway so the propane
Mhm.
people could get here.
Mhm.
And then it's just nothing will sync. Thanks, Apple. All right. So
I'm not even going to blame Apple on this one. I have a theory that maybe it's just you.
I don't get it though. Why could it be me? It's the signal thing.
Maybe try
Oh,
opening them when I send them to you
I
first.
did. I mean, this morning.
Yesterday. I sent this to you yesterday. I always give you a
Okay.
24-hour notice.
Do you really think that would have made a difference with me?
You would have given me 24 hours to get it to you a different way.
I'll
Or,
remember that in the
or
future.
troubleshoot it.
I'll add that to my board.
Literally, okay, so if you scroll really quickly on the notes, I added something at 7:30 this morning. See what it says.
No, that popped up. But it'll pop up like a pop-up and it says Carissa edited in this file. And I was like, okay, it must be coming through. I'll try it again after I shovel snow. So,
But it
but
literally says at the bottom, okay, Jamie, let's see if you read the notes. Because there's a very bottom thing on it.
that didn't pop up at all. Hold on, I'll tell you. Just to make sure. It is nope. Last thing I got from you is
I sent you a text. Look at the text message.
I'm looking. It's not there. Last thing I texted you is, oh, gotcha. Yes, I did not get an individual invite, so I just responded and gave her an email
This
for
says
a pug.
I sent you the notes for today.
Yeah, but that was yesterday.
No. In your text messages.
I'm in
Just
my text messages. They're not there.
and it copy pasted. Oh my gosh, did you block me?
Oh, I don't get it. No, I do get elevator pitches where you just texted me that, unless you're talking about that. Okay, yeah, I see that.
Oh my gosh.
I thought you meant
Sometimes I wonder about you.
sometimes.
I mean,
Come on. Everybody,
uh,
even like when I'm filming with my Dr. Vox team, they definitely got to reel me in.
all right, so let's talk elevator pitches.
All right.
Let me go to my notes, the ones that actually work.
All right. Let me scroll down to my texting and you'll see me guys. You guys will see me scrolling through it. Come on.
Yeah, if you're watching on Spotify or YouTube, you'll see Jamie.
But if not, you'll hear me coughing and complaining about it.
Oh, you got your water? The one
I
time I'm like,
do.
bring your jug. The color of that water bottle makes it look like Elmer's glue.
It is.
That's what
What do you think keeps me going?
Let's talk about elevator pitches for your stories.
All right.
And we've talked about this with a few authors. And I think I can't remember. Maybe it was Michael C. Bland. We were like, we need to put this in an episode and just talk about.
Yeah,
It was him. Talk about elevator pitches, and it's that 30-second grab. You know, you want to grab somebody's attention. You want to sell them your book. It takes basically an elevator ride to get your story out there. I went a little dive, read some blogs, and here are some points that I put on our notes that will help make it snappy and a little engaging. Because I feel like when someone says, "What's your book about?" you need to have that ready.
yeah. You can't be long-winded, and you got to know that core concept, because we've had this happen before, and I'm like, sell me your book in 30 seconds. And
Mm-hmm.
by the end of it, it's like, so the puppy, that Adam Sandler movie. And I'm like, what?
Oh, but then I had this friend who also told me,
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah, you cannot ADHD your elevator pitch. You have got to keep it 30 seconds. Keep those squirrels in check when
And
you're
what's more important in that 30 seconds is like that first 5 to 6 seconds, because it's just like, and I'm seeing this now, especially with like Dr. Vox, like everything's blown up. We're getting a lot of engagement, and what it is, it's catching that attention in that first
Mhm.
5 to 6 seconds. It's like,
Yeah.
bam, you got to hook them immediately. If you take too long, they're going to scroll on by. So
Mhm.
same thing with your
I agree.
elevator pitch. You're going to lose a reader.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's a key question right there is what's at stake if you don't know yourself what your book's about. You're losing a potential reader. You're losing an audience member that may spread the word. If you don't know what it's about, no one else will.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you need to hook them immediately, like you said. Introductions start with that compelling line that grabs the what if or how, what would you do in this scenario. It's almost like you're hearing the narrator of a movie long, long time ago.
Yeah. Or what's the one, the murder scene? So did she? I can't remember that guy's name, that old murder show. You know what I'm talking about? And he's like, he's always like unsolved mysteries. And he's like, and
Oh,
so they thought it was the wife, but was it really?
oh,
And he
you're
always,
talking? Are you talking about the guy from Unsolved Mysteries?
I think it's like he's gray headed and he always has that voice.
I don't know. He's dead. The guy from Unsolved
Well,
Mysteries.
it may not be. I can't remember who it is. I have to talk to my wife, who watches all these murder mysteries, to figure out how to kill me. So,
Mm. Yeah. It
did I
wouldn't
say
take
that out
much.
loud?
You could just like have just just go hug on him if you're sick.
Yeah,
You'll get it.
I think that's what keeps happening. So, all right.
So yeah, again, the key point here: have that first catch line. You want to mentally grab them, or they're lost and they're gone, and they're not even listening to you for the next 27 seconds. Um, Keep it clear and concise. This is not a rambling pitch. This is not a like, well, like this, if you like this, if you like that, blah blah blah. It's what is your book about in 30 seconds.
If it were me and you wanted to keep it clear and concise, I would literally script it out. I would write it down on paper again and again, and look, and not that you have to remember and say it line by line, but what happens with an author, they'll be like, and well, there's this one character, like, forget all that, forget the side characters. What is the main point of this book? Why are you trying to hook them in? You don't want any pauses or uhs or this. So if you script it, at least study it, and you have those bullet points in your mind, then you can kind of go off the cuff a little bit, and you'll still be clear and concise.
I can do you one better.
Yes.
So on our trip to Orlando, I was talking to Willow because Willow has a very large fantasy book coming out. And there's a lot happening in this book. And it's going to be a 3-book series, like I said before in a previous episode, but there's so much happening, so many layers. And I was like, you've got to get this down to a 30-second elevator pitch. She's like, I know. I said, so my suggestion, and this is what I would do, especially with the age of technology, take your notes app, do the talk to text. So talk to it, have it write it all out for you. What your book's about, like you're telling somebody everything, all this, like this and this and this, almost like you're doing a brain dump on pseudo write. Copy paste, go into your chat GPT,
Yep.
say write this in a 30-second elevator pitch, and hit enter, and it'll
I
come up
do
with
that all the time. Not with that, but like writing articles. And I'm like, okay, I brain dump everything. I tighten it up as much as I can. So it is me. So all these people, we've had these people like AI, it's the end. Not if you use it correctly. and then
Mhm.
I'll put it in there and be like, hey, this is way too wordy. I want you to cut it in half, 50% or whatever. And then you fine tune from there.
Mhm. Yeah, so I would suggest using AI for that benefit. You taking what you have and then make it shorter for me. Make it and literally specifically say make this in 30 seconds. And it'll take the key points and shorten it into 30 seconds or less because it does have when you go on Grammarly and you're writing and stuff, it will tell you down at the bottom, you can change it to how many words, how long it takes to read, all that stuff is down there at the bottom. So you can change out how long you want something, like make this shorter because I need this to be under 5 minutes. So that is definitely a good tool with AI, which I have a cool story, not necessarily, it turned out cool, um, cool, but a cool story of professor student engagement on AI recently. But
Another one?
I don't know if we've talked about the other one that recently happened.
No, we haven't.
Because we haven't seen each other for several weeks, and this happened since we haven't talked.
Whoa.
Since you've been down sick, down bad. All right. Um, make sure your story comes across different. Have that selling point. I feel like, and this is something we're going to talk about in the next episode, is the pet peeves type situations where it just sounds so redundant. Like, oh, this has been done so many times before. You
Yep.
know what I mean? Find something that's unique about your story. There are going to be repetitious parts of your story that have happened in other stories. That's a given. But what is the key unique point of your story that you are trying to bring people in, Like, oh, you
Yeah.
like Harry Potter, this is it. Like, well, I've already read Harry Potter. Why do I want yours? Give me something different.
That's one of my pet peeves. So I'll probably talk about it in the next episode. I hate it when it's like, if you love Harry Potter or you love Twilight, you're going to love this book. Why don't you let it stand on its own?
Well, I get the selling point. Like, if you're so like when I'm watching Netflix, if you like this, you'll probably like this. You're right. I am going to like that. Let's watch that one too. So I
I
get
can
that.
understand it in that. I don't know why it's a pet peeve for me though, Chris, but like if I see if I love the Twilight books and I see if you like the Twilight books, you will absolutely love this. How do you know? I mean, you're using that book and you're trying to sell yours and act like it's better. That drives me
Well, and
nuts.
that's the thing. So, for example, Twilight stood on its own as a different. It wasn't vampires aren't different. You know, love stories within vampire stories are not different. But the thing about Twilight was the difference of the type of vampire
Mm-hmm.
and all that. So it made it unique. There was a unique selling point of that storyline because these were vegetarian vampires, essentially. You know, or however you want to look at that. Anyways, so show don't tell. This is instead of the story like saying the detective that solves a mystery, you know maybe this disgraced detective haunted his past is haunting him and blah blah blah, like why is this detective so unique, and
That's an
why.
excellent tip for writing in general. I
Mhm.
mean, I remember working with Rich Dalglish, and even Daniel was like, "You got to show, quit telling." And in the beginning, I did a lot of that, so it was way too
But I
descriptive.
do think there are times you should be allowed to tell and not show.
Yeah, but as you get deeper into as an author, I mean,
Hmm.
you understand when it's that time. But
Yeah.
let's talk about like beginning authors. A lot of them do. They'll just go like, "Hey, I wrote a 600-page book, and it really could have been 300 or 400 pages." So
Yeah. And this next note part that I put in there, like where you focus on the main character, who who and what and why is the protagonist. Something that I heard someone say, which I don't do this, I didn't do this in Crystal Gate, and this is why they said this to me. They're like, I really like you did not make your female character a damsel in distress. Like not making it so cliche, like she needs to be saved. No, she doesn't need to save. This is her choice. The decision she's making at the end of this book is purely her own. She's not choosing good or evil, she's choosing her own path. So that is something that I feel a lot of people don't like that. But then again, some people do want a storyline where the female's being saved by the bad guy, the who turns good. You know what I mean? Anyways. Yeah, so make sure that people can connect with the characters when you're thinking about this. What is something that people want? People that are fantasy readers, there's something they want to pull from their characters. Murder, they want to be able to to like fuel the drive of the detectives, and do you want them to fall in love with the murderer? Like, what kind of things are we going for here in your storyline that maybe is the canon and like the little uh tropes that you want to see in your type of genre? Jeez.
And you definitely want to end with a bang. I mean, if you start with the bang that first 6 seconds, but the very last thing you say to a potential reader just really hooks them and pulls them in. I don't know. It could be a cliffhanger. It could be something. It's like, wait a minute, I have to read this book because now I'm intrigued. What's going to happen to this main character? You're leaving me. Can you tell me more? Nope. Got to read the book.
Mhm. Oh yeah. And that's so right now where I'm writing Canvas, I've got these little points. I have a few people that I have on the take with the reading part and what's going on, and then they'll say, "Well, what about?" I'm like, "Oh, can't tell you that part." They're like,
Yeah.
"What?" Can't tell you
Read
the
the
part.
book.
We're gonna you what do I come out? Yes, 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 yes. Practice, practice, practice. The practice just makes you better. Doesn't make you perfect. It only makes you, better than what you were the previous second. Um, Practice on friends. Practice on, I don't know, your mirror, which I don't do that. I don't look in the mirror and practice anything. It weirds me out.
I do, but just because from doing vocal exercises, because I
Yeah,
do
I
the
can see
weirdest
that.
things years ago. I like tilt my head and stuff. But even standing there and pretending you have somebody in front of you, like I said, I mentioned earlier, like scripting, and you said go through Chat GPT, tighten it up. You can't do that once. You have to rehearse this, so it's like second nature.
Hmm, hmm. Um, so me, it's so weird, and I think I've said this in previous times. Whenever I am saying things out loud and when I'm writing and I'm hearing dialogue, I always do it in a British accent.
You always do. You
I
really?
always, when I'm talking to myself, it's never, I'm talking, I always talk to myself in a British accent, and I'm like, it's almost like I have a second character. It's like I actually have a British friend here.
I do mine in a Kentuckian accent, but wait a minute, I do that all the
Is that
time.
normal?
Yeah.
Isn't that your normal dialect?
I used to hate it. I remember one of my partners was like, "Dude, there's nothing wrong with you having that slight accent. It's kind of cool. Just roll with it. Don't be so because in the beginning, like doing a lot of audio, it's like, "Hi, I'm Jamie Vendera, and today," and he's like, "Yeah, stop that."
Yeah, that sounds really weird. Look, I made a pretty cup.
You made that?
Yes, I made that. I painted that.
Oh, that's cool.
And then look, I got my little K on there.
Oh, that's awesome.
Me and the me and the fam went and painted pottery.
Did you make
Anyway,
the cup too, or was the cup already done?
the cup was already done. You just paint it, and then they fire it for you, and then you go and pick it up and
Oh, that's
drink
cool.
the cola. Yeah, it was a lot of fun, darling. Lots of fun.
Now, if I would have went with you and done that, we'd be showing them now, and everybody would be laughing at mine.
What, your cup?
Well, indeed.
Hmm.
Be like, is that supposed to be a J? Is that a flower? Is that a weed? So, all right.
So I have a question. All right, so we're talking about pitching. We're talking about these elevator pitching, and I do this, so I know that my answer will already be yes. But if you are trying to tell someone about your book, do you think you should tailor it to the person that you're talking to?
I mean, really depends on if you know that person. I mean, if
Mhm.
it's some random person, you're not going to know how to tailor it to them.
Well, for example, my book deals, of course, mainly with, Alexis. She's quantum physicist. There's the devil in it. You've got a little bit of aliens coming in there, just very briefly. There's a lot of overlapping of pseudoscience and different things going on. But I feel like when I have certain types of people that I know don't want to hear about the alien part, but they would love the love story, I focus on the love story part.
No, I totally get that. And I totally
Yeah.
agree. But for me to be like, it had to be a situation where I know, because you're talking about people you know. Like if you're at a book signing, you don't know who's into aliens and
Well, you
loves.
could, you could, when you're book signing, like, oh, what type of books are you into? You literally engage. Don't be like, don't be a robot. If you're at a book signing, be like, this is my book, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
Next, blah, blah, blah. No, because quack, quack, quack.
uh,
Speaking of which, we should do a book signing. Like, you should literally come to Florida and do a book signing.
Actually, just talking to you in this podcast, I really want to. I don't know what we'll call it, but We've written so many books. I want to start scripting and doing elevator pitches for all of my books for videos and putting them out there. Like the 30-second, book something.
Well, and like I said, just do the notes app, talk to it. What your book's about. You know what your books are about. Click copy paste in chat GPT and then make a little 30-second 45-second video. Like you want to,
Indeed.
I'll have to do that for Crystal Gate, but I'm not into making videos as much as you are.
That's all right. I need to pick up the pace. I'll start making tons of videos. And then if you don't want to, I'll just AI is so good.
Make
I'll
it look
grab a
easy.
copy of your voice and your picture and I'll sit there and do it. And then I'll just change it. And I'll be like, hi, I'm Carissa. And then I'll
You
say,
should do
give
it
it
in a
a
British accent though.
exactly. That's what I was
I'm
going to say.
talking. If I'm
Yeah.
talking, you have to do it in British accent. You cannot do it just in basic English. Ugh. American English, for that matter.
And at the end of the day, it's like before we get on here, he's like, don't cough a million times, Jamie. You didn't really say that, but
I did
you
not say that.
said
Yeah, I was
you
gonna say
said
I did not say
breathe.
that.
You said breathe. You bring some enthusiasm. So
Yes,
really,
because your energy was putting so much negativity out. Your electronics weren't working, and you're
yeah,
just
I
like
was I was
blah
pretty
blah.
blah this morning, but you ended with this be enthusiastic. You have to when you're writing your book, you got this passion. You're telling other people about it, like, oh, you're not gonna believe what happened, blah 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 blah. You can't go out in the public and be like, yeah, my book, it's this and that. You have to have that same drive and energy and passion as you did when you were telling somebody. So if you in fear of slipping back, think of those times when you were telling somebody about your book and you were so excited. Like I used to call Daniel Middleton, and he'd be going. He wanted to know, like, chapter by chapter. He's like, dude, you're blowing my mind. I am so excited. I can't wait to read this book. The passion that you have, that's how you got to feel about this. This is your child. You're proud of your children.
Hmm.
So always be enthusiastic.
Yeah, and I actually thought about that. I know we talk about Willow, but she is a new author coming out, and so I've been working with her a lot. Just different steps along the way. She's so enthusiastic. She's so energetic. She's always on social media. And here we are, seasoned veterans are like, whatever.
I know.
I'm like getting that fuel back, those energy pills that you have whenever you are first writing your first book. I'm like, I hope she keeps this energy going. She's been wanting to write this book for so long, and she's been working on it for so long. So she's super, like enthusiastic, but at the same time, I just hope she can maintain it because it's definitely infectious how she
I think she
portrays it.
can. I mean, I'll discuss this with you in the future. I've already been thinking about having meetings with her and you. If she's up to doing videos, I'll have a
Oh,
ton of
hell yeah.
ideas for her to do.
Oh yeah.
And I see her putting videos on her
She always
Instagram
puts stuff
anyways.
out. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so again, with being enthusiastic, it makes a difference when you're writing your query letters or trying to get an agent or even trying. So knowing the 30-second pitch is key not only for selling your book after the fact, but it's very key when you're trying to get a query letter together for an agent, submitting to publishers. You need to have that ready because you need, and especially if it's a niche thing that you're sending to, because we've talked about this in the agents episode,
Hmm.
where if you don't know your agent, and you sell them the wrong thing, they're just going to push it
Yeah.
on.
This is
So
going to
know
chuck
what
it
that agent's looking for, and that's where you can kind of tailor your pitch to them. Yeah. So
precisely. So I see we're gonna ignore the little okay, Jamie, and we're gonna let you do a little elevator pitch.
done.
Now,
Let's not
for
ignore that.
our listeners, she's going to kind of combine Crystal Gate and Four Rivers.
Yes.
Now you may be doing it when you're doing this. I mean, you can do that for a series, absolutely.
Mhm.
But a lot of you are new. You'll probably just be doing one book. But it makes sense for Carissa to do this because they are tied together.
Yeah, and I'll do this in a normal voice. I promise. All right. So yeah, I went ahead and what I did was I typed out everything about Crystal Gate, put in this thing, and then I copy pasted it into Chat GPT and I said, put this into a 30-second elevator pitch. It did a great job. And this is what it came up with. Crystal Gate in Four Rivers, quantum physicist Alexis discovers she's Eve's descendant, unknowingly possessing a crystal to Eden. The devil desperately hunted her lineage for centuries, blinded by rage and a mistaken belief about his own destined mate. Alexis isn't a pawn. She's a powerful woman who forces the devil to confront his choice, seize the crystal and rewrite history, or risk everything to win her heart and change his destiny forever. This is an epic battle of good, evil, and free will that will leave you breathless.
Now, what I want to say,
I will fine tune this because there are parts that I would probably change about this, but that's what ChatGPT came up for me.
yeah, and again, listeners, now she's reading it. Now, if she's going to go out and do an elevator pitch, she's going
Oh
to
gosh,
know
I'm
this
gonna
and
fine
tighten it up.
tune
But if
this.
you look at it like right off the gate, I'm like quantum physicists. I'm like, Eve, what? So I'm pulled in, and she ends with that epic battle of good, evil, and free will. So when she's actually pitching to somewhere, she's going to be like, but let me tell you, Alexis, she's not a pawn. That's how Carissa would be. Well, she's not a pawn. No, I can't
Well,
do a British
definitely.
accent.
If I met someone in the elevator and they asked me, I'd totally go into full British mode.
Uh, but that's what you need to do. And this is $2. She summed it up. And as she fine tunes this, it'd be less than 30 seconds. And you'd be
Yeah,
like,
and I did this at 7:30 this morning. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna create my elevator pitch, and I meant to do it yesterday, but I did this morning. That's when I got in there. I was like, all right, Jamie, let's see if you read these notes because I'm adding this now
yeah. Well, we know I didn't.
because you couldn't get into the notes.
Yes, I don't get it. I'll figure it out.
Yeah, it's probably because all of your Wi-Fi is covered by ice and snow.
It could be because, we had it. And this morning when your cat just walked in your room, which I love, it's like a ghost.
Oh,
Uh,
just shove the door open.
this morning when I was trying to retrieve it, it did say, can't connect to the internet. Do you want to use cellular? And I'm like, what? And I'm like, please do not. Oh, hey, kitty, kitty.
Augie. Hello, Augie.
Do you
Anyway,
remember me telling you weeks ago that we had a cat that was run over when I was in Michigan? Or did I tell you that?
listen, I lose track of all your animals that live and
Okay.
die.
Well, he wasn't. I mean, it's still sad. It was another black and white cat. This one we call Frowny because he looks like this. But he's the sweetest cat. He's not ours. And he showed up like a week ago.
You
So
have part ownership in all the animals in your
I
area.
really do. I mean, we should start a nonprofit so I can write it off on taxes.
I mean,
But
if you just open a cat house and everything, you probably could write it off as a shelter.
we have a really nice building out back, and if I hadn't turned it into a gym and a library for my wife, that would have been perfect. So
Yeah.
I'd have to build another building.
You need to stop building buildings and you need to start like selling off your property and
Yeah,
just
I just
travel.
need to start moving.
Yeah, moving. All
Yep.
right. This has been a quick elevator pitch episode here on the Always Right podcast.
Now you sound more like a radio announcer.
I know. I was like, thank you for listening to the Always Right podcast.
Uh,
Now let's listen to some smooth jazz.
yeah.
Although in between episodes, I do need to ask you a question about chords on a piano for my book.
Okay.
All right, just remember that. All right, but if you want to find us, you can go to YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, and you can find all those little links if you go to alwaysrightpodcast.com and you can click on the little icons and go on over. If you'd like to email us, if you have questions or if you just want to give us a shout out, you can email us at alwaysrightpodcast@gmail.com and we'll get back to you in a timely fashion.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
until then, until then, we will get our act together, get our what is this episode about?
Elevator pitching.
Yes. We'll get our elevator pitching down to a science to where we can go out in public and just like spread.
Yeah, and before we're going to record another episode, so I got to get prepared and get my lungs clear. So,
What kind of scary
I would have
story?
been. I'd had to add the multi-tone if I was going to do that.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, we could do an exorcism. Get out! I'll have to tell you a funny story later.
Okay,
Not on the
well,
podcast.
okay. This is for the side podcast episode.
Yes.
All right. Until next time, thank you for listening. Until then, always right.
Yep.